dzisiejszym odcinku zapraszam Was do NASA, czyli do Space Kennedy Center. Ale jak zawsze zaczynajmy od początku. Dzień dobry, kolejnego dnia ze Stanów. Matko, już po mnie widać, jaka jestem niewyspana. Ale no, same sobie zgotowałyśmy ten bardzo intensywny program, więc trzeba go teraz wykonać. Jest godzina 7 rano, czekamy na Ubera i jedziemy na wycieczkę do Space Kennedy Center. Dużo ludzi już sobie biega o tej porze. Miałyśmy hotel akurat przy takim jeziorku z widokiem na centrum. Przy takim parku z milionem łabędzi. Fajny klimat bardzo. I oczywiście powiem to, co zawsze, szkoda, że jesteśmy tu tak krótko i musimy wracać. Wczoraj byłyśmy w Disneyu od przed 9 rano i wyszłyśmy z parku po 20, bo czekałyśmy jeszcze na pokaz fajerwerków, więc byliśmy tam 11 godzin. Zrobiłyśmy bodajże 25 000 kroków, ale było warto, było naprawdę super, po prostu spełnienie dziecięcych marzeń. Bardzo fajnie.
Artemis is going to take astronauts back to the moon and eventually all the way out to Mars. And that big building, once again, is still going to be used for the assembly of what's now called the Space Launch System. Now, the Artemis Space Launch System rocket is a heavy lift vehicle, and it
Dotarliśmy do Kennedy Space Center. Jesteśmy. Z samego centrum Orlando do Space Kennedy Center jest ponad godzina drogi autobusem i tutaj zdecydowałyśmy się na wykupienie wycieczki przez Get Your Guide. Miałyśmy pilota, który nas odebrał z podhotelu, poopowiadał to i tam, powiedział dokładnie, jak wygląda zwiedzanie, od czego zacząć. No, generalnie takie wskazówki, co i jak. I później mieliśmy ponad 7 godzin czasu wolnego. Tak samo jak w Disneyu mamy tutaj szafki, w których możemy schować swój bagaż.
Superman. Iron Man. Luke Skywalker.
I can remember being inspired, like most young children, by TV heroes.
I was inspired, of course, by science fiction.
I think
The 33-ton rocket is poised to hurl America's first man into space at 5,000 miles per hour. Alan Shepard will rocket to 115 miles above the Earth. He will weigh nearly 1,000 pounds and be punishing acceleration of a giant booster rocket.
And you know the old desire of all pilots, when you walk up to the airplane, you always kick the tires just to be sure they're not flat. This particular rocket I was never going to see again. So I just stopped as I approached it, looked up into the glare of the spotlights, and took a look at the rocket. Sort of another way of kicking the tires, so to speak.
Operating combined spacecraft was a key element of the Apollo strategy. We want to prove that ability on Gemini 8. 3, 2, 1, ignition. Our orbit was primarily over ocean areas, out of range of flight controllers and tracking stations. We were on our own.
really a smoothie.
Hey, congratulations.
Oh, you couldn't have the thrill down there that we have up here. Passing Madagascar, leaving com range.
Roger, if you run into trouble and the Gina goes wild, just send Command 400 to turn it off and take control of the spacecraft.
Roger, we understand. Thanks, Jim.
I'm not hearing our thrusters fire. Let's go to ACS off, phones power on.
We're in a spin. It's the Gina. Send Command 400. Undock now. It's actually getting worse. Power the system off.
We have serious problems here. We are in the final left-hand roll at the present time.
Hand control is locked up. We can't turn anything off.
Did I hear him say he may have a stuck band control? Roger, what about the Gina?
No, he says he is separated from the Gina and he's in a roll and he can't stop it.
Try the re-entry control system. It might just give us the correction we need.
I understand he's used only on fuel.
His brake pressure is down to 0. His all braking and pressure.
Okay, let's work on one axis at a time here. Much better.
We're regaining control of the spacecraft slowly. In RCS direct.
Okay, well, I keep that.
We're coming in for dash 3.
I'd like to argue with him, but I don't know. We can't. Command, we will prep for emergency landing at 7-3.
Jimmy 8 to have some rescue down 3 to Mason. 3 hours after splash.
The space program was just starting, and when they put out their criteria for the type people they wanted, I seemed to have all the qualifications that they were looking for. My combat experience in the Marine Corps in the Pacific was a factor. The Marines were being tossed into some of the toughest combat in early World War II, and then went back out in the Korean War. One people who had worked under stress and duress and had come through okay.
John Glenn,
Strike leader to flank, still a couple more targets left. I'm taking another pass.
Not a good idea, Major Glenn. You'll be a flat magnet again.
Our fellow Marines need us to get this done. I'm going in.
Roger that.
Going low. I'm hit. Still have control. Firing. And I'm on.
Good hit. There's not much left of your tail section.
Roger that. Let's see if I can make it back to base.
Welcome to the Air Force, Major Command. What do you think about that new F-86 Sabre jet?
Well, I think we're about to find out. Ask me again after we take out these MiGs.
Roger that.
You have to remember my time of growing up in the 1930s. The people of the past, the barnstormers and the people that did the early triumphs in aviation, and one of them, of course, was Charles Lindbergh. They asked me if I would sort of escort Lindbergh down on the beach watching for the launch of Apollo 11.
Over here.
It'll be a memorable flight.
Kind of like your first flight across the Atlantic.
The flight I'll remember most is your Apollo 8. The first flight to go around the moon.
Now we're gonna land on that moon.
As I walked with my hero and looked up at that flaming candle taking off for the stars, it all came full circle. A spark of inspiration shaped my career, and my journey took me beyond my wildest dreams to places like the moon. We had just to turn that spark into a flame with the fuel of curiosity. To learn from our failures, never give up until the goal was reached. My heroes and their heroes before them were driven by this notion. So was the entire NASA team when they started this amazing journey into space. Our heroes and legends drive us into the future. Each generation inspires the next to go further into the unknown, beyond our solar system, beyond our galaxy. I can't wait to see where you will go.
Powiem Wam, że być w tym miejscu i zobaczyć zobaczyć to wszystko, to jest po prostu niesamowite doznanie. Jeżeli będziecie mieli okazję być na Florydzie, to koniecznie wybierzcie się właśnie do NASA.
Tom Wolfe mentioned this controversy. What? The author.
Sam, warte mal kurz.
Tutaj ta część, w której się znajdujemy, nazywa się Rocket Garden, czyli ogród rakiet, i większość z tych rakiet jest prawdziwa. W parku jest mnóstwo zajęć, spotkań z astronautami. Mamy tutaj różne lekcje, możemy się nauczyć różnych ciekawych rzeczy związanych z kosmosem. Możemy też zobaczyć, jak wyglądały miejsca, w których astronauci jedzą, załatwiają się czy śpią. Zobaczcie, jakie to jest wszystko ciasne. A tutaj jest właśnie przykład jedzenia astronautów. A tu nasze jedzenie i amerykańskie śniadanie. Można też sobie zrobić zdjęcie z astronautą, ale są też takie spotkania z prawdziwymi astronautami, gdzie możemy zadać im różne pytania. Zabawki do Bohuna. Prezent dla Bohunka kupiony. A tutaj możemy zobaczyć, jak wyglądały przygotowania do lotu w kosmos. I zapraszam na krótki film.
It was a few days before Christmas 1968 when Apollo 8 sat on the pad. She was the first of a new kind, a moon rocket. This was the Phoenix, risen from the ashes of Apollo 1. The first Apollo crew did not die in vain. This was to be their testament. "36 stories high, she had been fully fueled throughout the night. The liquid oxygen in her tanks caused ice to form on the outside of the craft. The extreme temperature differences between the air and the sub-zero fuel caused the metal skin of the rocket to expand and contract. Everyone who was on the pad agreed. It was as though the rocket was alive, breathing, straining at the leash. Earlier in the morning, astronauts Frank Borman, Jim Lovell, and Bill Anders had made their final preparations before taking that long ride out to the waiting spacecraft. The minimum safe distance from a Saturn V at liftoff was 3 miles. The reason was simple. When fully fueled, the rocket contained the explosive power of an atomic bomb. As the clock counted down, the astronauts and all of us in launch control went through the pre-flight checks, our hands on the controls of the most powerful, most complex machine ever built. It had over 2 million separate systems, and to bring these men back alive, everything had to work perfectly. Each individual system had been tested, but what we didn't know was how they would perform when all 2 million began to work together. That moment would come when the countdown clock reached 0. If a maneuvering thruster failed, if communications broke down, if navigation was off by 1 degree, if any piece of the miles of wiring, circuits, relays, or valves was defective, Frank Borman, Jim Lovell, and Bill Anders would pay with their lives. As they sat, waiting for launch on that chill December morning, these 3 astronauts were back to what they had always been, test pilots. You are now in the final minutes before the launch of Apollo 8, right here where it actually happened. Mankind is about to leave his planet behind and journey to another. It is one of those rare moments when history is not being made, destiny is being embraced.
This is launch control, T-minus 3 minutes and counting. We've completed our communications checks with the Apollo 8 astronauts in the cabin, and the communications are go. During this period, once we do get the firing command, the various tanks within the 3 stages of the Saturn V launch vehicle begin to pressurize. We have firing command. The firing command is in. We are now on the automatic sequence, T-minus 2 minutes, 20 seconds, and counting. Our status board indicates that all aspects are ready. Instrument unit is ready, spacecraft ready. Final check of the emergency detection system, that ready light also on. First stage preparations are completed.
All systems are A-OK.
Okay, keep going.
We're on. Ready to go to ground tight.
Stand by, Walter. Okay, you're on.
All systems go.
1 minute, 45 seconds and counting. The first stage liquid oxygen tank has been pressurized, and the pressure is still building up. Coming up in 90 seconds, mark, T-minus 90 seconds and counting. The Apollo 8 crew standing by, spacecraft commander Frank Borman, Jim Lovell, Bill Anders. We now have a report that the liquid hydrogen tank on the 3rd stage is pressurized. 1 minute, 15 seconds. All 3rd stage propellants pressurized at this time as we come up on the 60-second mark on a flight to the moon. T-minus 60 seconds and counting. The vehicle now is completely pressurized. We're coming up on a power transfer shortly. We have the power transfer. We're now on the flight batteries within the launch vehicle. Final reports coming from Frank Borman at this time. Final look at the switch list aboard the spacecraft. 20 seconds, all aspects. We are still go at this time. T-minus 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9. Ignition sequence start. The engines are armed. 4, 3,
Apollo 8 successfully orbited the moon, and the astronauts returned safely to the Earth. I know. I'm Jim Lovell, and I was one of the crew of this spacecraft, Apollo 8. We were the first men to see the surface of the moon from just a few miles away. But it was the hundreds of thousands of men and women who worked in our team, and the millions of people who supported the mission that really made it possible. That way, I guess, we all went to the moon. Now, on the other side of those doors, you'll find an actual Saturn V moon rocket. It's still the most powerful.
Jakie to jest ogromne. Nie zmieści mi się nawet na kamerze. No po prostu. Wow.
Good afternoon, everyone. I will be conducting a Kennedy Space Center representing NASA, and welcome to our Saturn V tour. Now, during the Apollo program, we landed.
Wow. Niesamowite. Tutaj uwaga, bardzo ważny punkt, można pomacać kamień księżycowy. W parku można też wziąć udział w takiej symulacji lotu rakietą, którego oczywiście nie nagrałam, no bo byłam zapięta pasami, nie można było nic w rękach trzymać. Natomiast wrażenia były obłędne i po prostu ta szybkość była tak ogromna, że wydawało mi się, że po prostu skóra mi odchodzi z policzku. Fajnie z nasem, ale powiem wam, że my mając podstawowe bilety, bo można było jeszcze mieć rozszerzenie, nie dałyśmy rady wszystkiego obejrzeć. Po prostu jest to na tyle duże, a NASA jest czynna do godziny 17, bo po prostu nie zdążyłyśmy. Tak dzisiaj wczoraj był dużo większy, ale też było dużo więcej na to czasu, więc kurczę, żałuję, że rano się bardziej nie skupiałyśmy i szybko nie będziemy po tych wszystkich atrakcjach, bo teraz tam po prostu brak po prostu. W symulatorze i... I co? To by było na tyle z nas. Jedziemy jeszcze do centrum Orlando i wracamy do Miami. Co się dzieje? No. Jeżeli dotrwaliście do końca filmiku, zostawcie koniecznie łapkę w górę i do zobaczenia. Pa!